Welcome to this edition of the Community Call. Um, we'll go, as usual, go around the team for any updates, and then this open mic. So, anyone with updates from the last 2 weeks?
Can mention uh, that actually the film strip rectification should be merged now in master. I'm not really sure if it is deployed yet, uh, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we run that here on Jitsi already. Anything from the bridge team?
Nothing major that I can think of.
Some Jitsi changes, including I think the default resolution Jitsi records in is now 1080p rather than 720p. So that's moderately exciting. That's mostly a configuration matter, but I think you'll see it say 1080p either now or soon here on Jitsi.
Yeah, I think that is already on Jitsi. Yep, go ahead.
Jonathan, did you talk about VP9 last time?
Yes, I believe I did, but for those who weren't here, we now have VP9 landed in master, though it's not enabled on any of our production systems yet. But if you want to enable that in your own Decofo config, please do, and let us know any issues, especially with regard to any of the fallbacks for endpoints that don't support that have to fall back to VP8. We want to make sure that that's clean. That would be like Safari, and I think still Firefox doesn't support it cleanly.
On the client side, we have a preferred codec option under video quality in config.js. That's where you can specify VP9. And there is another option as well where you can specify if you want to enforce the preferred codec or not. So if we don't have the enforced preferred codec, then we'll make all the endpoints fall back to VP8 if an endpoint that doesn't support VP9 joins the call. But then if you if you set the enforced preferred codec to true, then we'll continue to do VP9. And for Safari or Firefox, they won't be able to decode the video that's received from the Chrome endpoints, but then the Chrome endpoints will be able to actually decode VP8 coming from Safari and Firefox. So please be mindful of those settings when you start playing with VP9.
And one other change is the first week with the virtual backgrounds and the new blur here on Jitsi. That's new, I think. Anybody else? Or once, twice? So open mic. Your questions.
Yeah, hi, Damien. I have a question. Well, a comment question. Um, so great job, guys, on the new interface. It's absolutely stunning. It's amazing. Been playing around with it. Still unstable. And like Jonathan mentioned, we can now get VP9 straight from the pretty much from the master without having to bake our own jar. So thank you, Jonathan, for that. And great job, amazing job, Jai, on the client end. I have tested those things, as you know, and they work absolutely fantastically, perfectly, actually. And I wasn't quite sure that what worked for me was what you planned initially, but thank God it worked the way it works. So thank you. Don't fix it. Like I said, I do have an issue though with VP9 and Jonathan, and I think I mentioned this in the forum. Um, So if you enable the flag, obviously you see that it says it's VP9, but it's not giving VP9 quality streams. And I know this for a fact, right? Because I still have I have my old deployment where we enabled VP9, and that works absolutely fantastically. No issues at all. The visual quality is stunning, and without even checking anything at all. With the latest versions that we have, and I've just tested with the unstable, it still says VP9, but it's not giving me that quality at all. And I've been thinking through it, trying to figure out what could be the difference. Obviously, there hasn't been a lot of changes in your code from when we used it before, so we know it works. I think that there's probably just something that's not quite fitting right with the way the streams are being relayed right now. The only thing I can think of is probably the move from SCTP and multiplexing to WebSockets, because it's the only difference, well, the major difference I can see in terms of my bridges. So the one that worked for me and works perfectly, and the old deployment was still using SCTP multiplexing, and that still works perfectly. But with the new versions that we have in WebSockets, it's not quite working for me. So it's not giving me any errors. It's just not really giving me that quality up there.
So when you say it's not the quality, do you mean it's giving low resolution or just the?
Yep.
Okay.
It's given low resolution. It's actually interesting that it gives an even lower resolution than VP8, it seems. So here's the scenario for me. Like right now with the stable deployment that we have with VP9, I can actually have participants take it down to low definition, which puts it at about 180p, and it's still absolutely gorgeous. The picture clarity is amazing. If I even descale the current version down to standard, it's unsightly. It's really just very obvious.
It's possible that this is related to some of the changes we've made. Is we actually now the resolution limits. Previously, the resolution limits the encoders were setting was based on just the VP8 bandwidth. So it's possible that I trade off. I mean, VP9 gives a better quality versus bandwidth trade-off, and I believe the way we currently, if you have a VP9 enabled, I believe it's currently set, though we decided to do the trade-off such that you'd get lower bandwidth rather than higher quality. And I think that's a client configuration thing. So Jan may be able to speak some onto that.
Right, but sorry, before Jaya speaks, that's the thing though, I'm not getting any bandwidth savings even, right? So right now, if you use the unstable version that you have, and you enable VP9 on it in gCalfo, without the bridge, so I did both before baking your bridge, and putting in the current unstable. If I just enable VP9 in gCalfo, just plain offsite, I get 1280p entire resolution, just period HD. Once I bake your bridge or use your bridge, it automatically drops it down to 6. My brain is fried right now. I just woke up 2 minutes ago. Like just drops down the resolution. So I know that there's something different about it. And then when I look at the bandwidth, it's actually probably just the same or even more. So I'm still pushing out the same send bandwidth, and I'm getting way lower resolution.
This all sounds consistent with a problem with the WebSockets. So the first thing I would do is just verify that they are working.
Yep, WebSockets works perfectly. I've checked WebSockets; they work perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because with WebSockets, I mean, it's a bunch of things, right, that won't work. The resolution would actually drop much lower. It's going to take you down to like 180p. You're not going to see your stats. You're not going to see, the conference folks and stuff like that. So, and of course, I look through, the GS console and check the network tab. I know that the WebSockets work perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you're sure that the bridge channel is set up correctly and you're receiving all the events and all, then I would think that the next step would be to see what sender constraints and what receiver constraints the client is sending. And also, like maybe if you can go and configure the bit rates, like properly for VP9 and VP8 and set up the ones that you want and try again.
Okay.
Yeah, we can maybe take it from there. Yeah, I think without looking at the constraints that the client is sending and receiving, it's hard to tell what's causing the problem.
All right. Thank you. I'll look in those. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Freddie. Other questions?
Hi, this is Johnny. I have a question.
Hey, Johnny, go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm very excited about the new features with the messaging format for clients to tell which resolutions we want for each client. I'm just curious to know when this could be released to stable. Do you think that there would be like more time to fix bugs, or is already stable to use in production?
If I'm not mistaken, we're using it here, right? Chia, Boris?
No, not yet,
No?
actually. No, we haven't enabled that flag for Meet Jitsi yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know when we want to push it to the stable repos.
We're planning a stable release soon, so we will get the latest there, so that will be stable. Probably a week or two at most.
That's great. Thank you very much.
I see people having fun with the backgrounds. Any questions?
I think the backgrounds are amazing. I've been a bit lazy. I didn't build the Docker and set it on my own Jitsi. When's the new Docker release? So I can just update instead of having to build it. Or is that not known yet? I think the last one was February 4th, if I remember correctly.
So just a quick one on talking about backgrounds. Obviously, it's absolutely beautiful. Thank you. And we can see your guy doing stuff with it. Um, I mean, it's really it's much. I mean, it doesn't pull on resources as the initial blur. So this is fantastic work. I don't even want to see anything but that on it. But because I know that this is a team that aims for perfection, and there can always be improvement. I was just curious. There's a little ghosting that you see, and I don't know that this is specific to Jitsi, because I've looked at one or two other solutions, and they seem to have the same issue. Is that something that will get better, or something we you know just have to live with, like it's a background blur, sorry, a virtual background issue?
Could you repeat the last part, like Freddie? I didn't
Oh,
understand
sorry.
what the
No,
question.
I was making a remark about the background, virtual background.
Right.
So I was saying that you noticed there's a little ghosting that happens with it. And I was making a comment that, I've seen it with other solutions as well. So it's not, I don't think this is specific to us, to Jitsi. I was just wondering if this is just the way the current technology is, or if we should expect it to get better with time.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the model that we are using, for the TensorFlow model that we are using, and then how good it is. So yeah, I think over time it should get better.
Oh, awesome. Right. Thank you. Awesome job so far, though. So thank you.
I have a question about the toolbar. Is there any way that it could be made to float as it blocks the bottom row of images?
Not with the current code.
Okay.
I don't think there is a plan about that, and we're aware of some bugs about it, like the toolbar not hiding. We'll
also, with the chat open, the toolbar does not go away, but with the chat closed, it does.
That one
right,
is
thank you.
Something we know about, and
I have
okay, appreciate the input.
This is Jason Litzinger from CoScreen. It's kind of a high-level question regarding select participants and set receiver constraints. Is there a good source for, other than the source code itself and the bridge, for how that all kind of works together? We've had some struggles where, I mean, we notice when we use select participants, it works, but it'll prioritize one of the streams. And so if we have multiple streams, we'll sometimes see other streams stop. And for us, that ends up causing a bit of a problem. And I think we don't really have a good understanding of how it all is supposed to work. And so before we can ask better questions, we're looking for what the best way to go about diving into that would be, like if there's a technical doc somewhere. Or
there is a technical doc in the bridge. I'll find it and send the link right now.
Awesome.
If you have any questions about the doc, because I know it's not perfect, please send a message somewhere and I'll try to improve it.
So I've read that doc. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. And so the participants, so the problem we're having is, so like we're trying to set like a staged view like this, where all of the video streams are prioritized equally. And so I tried like with set receiver constraints to set, like for instance, all the participants is selected and all the participants is on stage, and set to be like enormous, like 4K, and set last end to -1 just as a test. And we still seem to like have some random stream that ends up being the prioritized one.
Right. It's probably not random. It's the one that is on top of your selected or on stage list. Using selected and on stage is going to overwrite the speaker order.
Okay.
So what you want to do in that case is use the actual constraints. I think it's video constraints or just constraints. And you can pair it with the default to get, constraints on those streams. But using selected or on stage will override the order.
So say what if I wanted like 2 of the streams out of 5 or something to be prioritized and not to be, I mean, I don't have an appropriate term for this, but be last end out of our group. Like these were 2 streams that I absolutely do not want to be, selected to be halted for congestion control purposes, right? Is there a way to do that with 2 streams as opposed to 1? Like it seems like select participant is very reliable. Like I can select a participant and that participant will not be placed into that leaving group as opposed to the entering group, right? And if I select another participant and they were in the leaving group, they'll get pulled back in. But is there a way I could force that with 2 participants, for instance?
Yes, you can select it with 2. So you just need to be aware that this overrides the speaker order.
So I've done that with 2, and it still seems to, one of the streams, like if I simulate packet loss, like 10% packet loss, probably like what you say, the second stream in the selected participants list does get, does enter that leave group.
Yeah, I mean, if you simulate packet loss, the available bandwidth is going to drop. And at that point, we're going to stop sending.
So ultimately, we want to be able to like select which stream. So like it seems like the selected one that's on the top, that it never ever gets dropped.
Yes, there is an exception for the first stream in the prioritized list, where we are going to send that always regardless of bandwidth estimation. That's just an exception, and it's not really something we recommend.
Is there bandwidth estimation on the bridge itself that happens because like we've even tried like forging our bandwidth reports and like setting like 100 megabits up and 100 megabits down. I get this isn't something we should be doing, but I'm trying to understand and study the logic here. And we set like 0% packet loss, and we still, if we simulate packet loss, it still seems like the bridge is able to determine.
Yes, the bridge has a bandwidth estimation algorithm. It's more or less the same one that Chrome uses. So basically, if the bridge sees that there is, it estimates the available bandwidth on the downlink, and it won't send more than that. Other than that, the lowest layer of the first video stream.
So it sounds like your answer though, like the only stream that we can prevent from being throttled in that situation is the selected participant stream at the moment. Which
yes, with the exception of
we like that. That's a good thing.
If you want to disable this behavior for testing purposes, you can set the trust BWE flag in the config, and this will just not do bandwidth estimations and always send everything.
We're doing most of our testing against 8x8.vc using the JAS or JAS solution. So like we do have our own video bridge where we can do that type of testing, but we're really trying to see like what we can do against the paid infrastructure that we have. So, but yeah, we can definitely try to do that. I thought that like us forging those bandwidth estimation reports would do something similar to trust BWE on the bridge side, but your explanation kind of explains why that's not the case. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for answering that. I think I understand a lot more now what's going on. So I appreciate it.
Okay, and you do have a link to the doc down?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question, if it would be possible.
Yes, go ahead.
That's kind of a follow-up previous question about the toolbar. I use the Jitsi image, which works wonderfully. And the toolbar disappears, but only some of the time. And then I don't know what it is, but it will just stop disappearing. And then it's there all the time, and it's covering the tiles at the bottom of the screen. And I haven't really noticed it. I wish I could tell you a way that you could duplicate it, but I haven't really noticed what caused it. Rather I've minimized the screen and then brought it back, or rather the chat was opened or closed or what, but it stops disappearing entirely. And it's just there the whole session. I wonder if that's something that's known about and something that could maybe be remedied.
Yes, we know about it and we'll be working on it.
Ah, okay, good. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the reports. Anyone else? All right. Then there are no more questions. We can close the call and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, guys.